The Dome of the Rock, also known as Qubbat al-Saqqara, has been called the most beautiful and perfect achievement of Islamic architecture. It is not only the earliest dating Muslim building, but has also retained most of its original structure and artistic detail for more than 1400 years. The Dome of the Rock is an ancient building in Old Jerusalem that was built on the Temple Mount, also known as Mount Moriah, in the heart of Jerusalem. It was created around 691 AD and is currently used as an Islamic shrine. It was built by Abd al-Malik, who was serving as a ruler until his passing in 705 AD. It was mainly created to oppose the large Christian presence of the Church of the Holy Sepulchre. There was much competition and confrontation between Christianity and Islam, or more accurately, between Christians and Muslims during this time. The Dome of the Rock, which was the Muslim structure, was intended to eclipse the dome of the rhododendron over the tomb of Christ, where the Holy Sepulchre presided. Regarding the sacred building site that the Dome of the Rock presides on, it was strategically built on a sacred site for both Muslims and Jews. The site, as previously mentioned, is called Mount Moriah and also known as the Temple Mount. When the Crusaders conquered Jerusalem in July of 1099, the Temple Mount became a killing field. The Muslims fled to Al-Aqsa Mosque, which still stands, where they surrendered. The next day, the Crusaders slaughtered their Muslim prisoners and proceeded to kill thousands more. When the Muslims drove out the Christians at the end of the 12th century, they dragged the cross through the streets of Jerusalem and placed on the dome the crescent, the symbol of Islam, that is still there. On each face of the octagonal structure, the Crusaders added a Latin mosaic inscription commonly used for the dedication of a church. The temple of the Lord is holy, God's labor and satisfaction. This is the house of the Lord, firmly built. Blessed be the glory of the Lord from this holy place. When the Byzantine Christians dominated Jerusalem beginning in the 4th century, they wanted to maintain the desolation of the Temple Mount as proof of Jesus' prediction that the temple would be destroyed. Revered the Dome of the Rock at the restored Jewish temple, the Crusaders called the Dome of the Rock the Lord's Temple. Al-Aqsa Mosque on the southern end of the Temple Mount initially served as the place of the Latin king of Jerusalem. Later, it was given the order of the Knights Templar to serve as their headquarters. The last Jewish temple to grace the Temple Mount had been destroyed by the Romans in 70 AD. Inside the Dome of the Rock, the primary worship area is on the mats surrounding the rock or sacred site. The building is in the shape of an octagon, allowing fluid movement through the interior and turning the whole space into a pathway around Mount Moriah. The Dome of the Rock has retained its original structure and artistic details for more than 1400 years. The lower walls are decorated with marble inlays, while the upper portion is covered in colorful mosaics of blue, red, gold, and green. There is also elegant script containing parts from the Quran. Parts of the interior design include an 800-foot-long mosaic inscription that is part of the decoration inside, but was also designed to express the anti-Christian view at the time. The golden dome that sits on top is more than 65 feet in diameter, which is very similar to the Holy Sepulchre, which is also 65 feet around. Many trees and vegetation have been planted around the Dome of the Rock. The 1.5 million square foot esplanade is trapezoidal in shape, with sides ranging from the length of 922 feet on the south to 16,001 on the west. There are many buildings on the esplanade, but the Dome of the Rock dominates them all, as it should. About the designer Abd al-Malik. The Umayyad Caliphate was the second of the 4 major Islamic caliphates established after the death of Muhammad. The caliphate was centered on the Umayyad dynasty. Born in Mecca and raised in Medina, the 2 most holy sites of Islam, the 5th caliph, Abd al-Malik, kick-started the creation of many of the institutions that centralized the Islamic Empire around his capital in Damascus and established its independence from the Byzantine traditions. Before his ruling, the caliphate had lost several important wars to the Byzantines, and other local rulers had more power. Abd al-Malik went to war with several local rulers, reasserting Umayyad control and established institutions that helped unify Damascus under his control. The Dome of the Rock, which he oversaw the creation of, was created as a religious focal point for his followers while he fought a civil war against Ibn Zurar. When Abd al-Malik began construction on the Dome of the Rock, he did not have control of the Kaaba, the holiest shrine in Islam, which is located in Mecca. The Temple Mount, the site of the Jewish Second Temple, was destroyed in 70 CE by the Roman Emperor Titus, while subduing the Jewish revolt. A Roman temple was later built on the site, but was then abandoned and adopted by Abd al-Malik, where the Dome of the Rock now stands. The actual structure and materials. The actual structure of the Dome of the Rock is made mostly of wood covered in an exterior layer of porcelain used for the mosaic. The dome is topped by a full moon decoration which evokes the familiar crescent moon symbol of Islam. It is aligned so that if you are looking through it, you would be looking straight towards Mecca. When it comes to the actual dome, it was originally gold, but was then covered with lead until 1963 when it was covered with gold-colored aluminum. In the 1990s, it first became covered in gold leaf, a donation of the late King Hussein of Jordan. On the interior, the columns supporting the inner octagon and the center circle are different sizes because they were recycled from previous structures. The crosses on them indicate that they had been taken from churches. The carved ceilings on either side of the inner octagon were not a part of the original design, but first appeared in 14th century and have been restored since then with the rest of the building. In conclusion, the Dome of the Rock is an ancient masterpiece sacred to many people of different faiths, including Islam's and Christianity. The Dome of the Rock, which is built and still presides in Old Jerusalem, encompasses pristine detail and artwork within its walls, as well as the sacred site of Mount Moriah. Abd al-Malik created this with the hopes for it to represent the Islamic faith and dominate the skyline. And even thousands of years later, it's safe to say he did just that.